Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you guys are having a good day. I hope Mendelsohn is having a good day. He seems to be alright. I'll leave you to your books, my friend. We are back here in the Survival Guide world and I am about to embark on another adventure into the Village and Pillage update. Today, I think we're going to go out in search of one of the new villages, or potentially the pillager outposts, or just a pillager patrol if we can run into them, because we've taken a look at the... Ooh, there's a horse disco happening over in the stable. We've had a look at the foxes and the tiger biome, we've had a look at some of the changes coming to the villagers themselves, but I kind of want to see some of these new structures for myself and show you guys what's changed. I have noticed a few people getting a little bit concerned that the new villages aren't generating in their world because they'd already generated an existing village and they were expecting those structures to completely change the design. Do not worry, my friends. The Village and Pillage update is going to generate new villages whenever you explore new terrain, but the original villages that you've already generated before, if you've been to that part of the world before and generated a village, it's going to stay the same. It's not going to replace the blocks of those villages because a lot of the new village houses have completely different designs. So you can exactly replace them one for one, and that could lead to a few issues, especially if a player had built structures around there themselves. The whole idea with these updates is that it doesn't completely overwrite anything that a player has already done. So for the best bet at that, they have to make sure that the new stuff only generates in terrain that hasn't been generated before, which is how come I went ahead and deleted a few regions of this world so that I could have those villages generate a little bit closer. So we're going to go ahead and check out some of those villages today if we can, but before we do that, I need to take a quick sleep because apparently everything around here needs better lighting, and I kind of want to look into lighting in an upcoming episode. I want to take a look at some of the new lanterns that are now in the game. I plan on spamming those basically everywhere, and I don't know where that zombie is going. I'm down here, mate. Come get me. But I think I want to show you guys around the castle a little bit first, because speaking of spamming stuff everywhere, I have been doing... None of those arrows connected. The zombies all died first. I have been doing a little bit of work around the castle, implementing the barrels in particular. I am a huge fan of the barrel texture that they've added in this update. Of course, barrels being the workstation block for, I think, fishermen, we decided. I think it was fishermen. So there probably would end up being a lot of fishermen in this castle if I had my villagers around here. But for now, I just have a ton of barrels as decorative blocks, and I really like them being around here. You might remember that I put a few placeholder wood logs and stuff like that. We had a few like oak wood logs here and there just to kind of give the impression of barrels before they actually arrived. But look at the atmosphere they give the place, especially if we come down here into the brewery that I built a few episodes ago. Actually having real barrels in here really makes sense, and I managed to put the tripwire hook back on this one because you can attach stuff like that to the barrel blocks, and it looks really nice. I think that lends an element of authenticity to this little brewery section. Not only that, but we can put them basically anywhere else we want to, including over here in the inspection hall. Imagine people bringing in like crates of goods to be inspected by the people who work in here. I've also got some over in the soldiers' mess hall and here and there in these little alleyways and stuff in the castle as well. Also planted a couple of the berry bushes that we went out to the tiger and got in the last episode. I think those add a nice touch to the place, and I've even lined an entire road with them up here on the way to the blacksmith's house here in Founder's Forge, although that road still has to be dressed up with a few other things in future as well. For now, it's just nice to have a few more decorations around the place. And that's where the lanterns will eventually come in once I've crafted a few of them, but for now, I think I want to go on a bit of an adventure. So let's throw away all these mob drops. I'm actually going to bring the bone meal with me, just in case I can do a couple of other fun things on the way. Speaking of that, actually, let's try... there we go. Yes, I was hoping that would happen. We have ourselves new flowers in the game. There are 3 new flowers, 2 of which are easy to get, 1 of which is much more difficult. But the easy ones you can find generating in plains biomes if you're looking for the blue flower. The one that I just picked up, that is a corn flower, and that is going to generate naturally in new plains biomes and can be generated with bone meal in old plains biomes. So don't worry too much if you haven't got a new plains biome kind of nearby, if you're having to travel a little bit further afield to find new terrain like that. Do not worry, you can always find them generating with bone meal in the existing plains biomes. These things are basically blue dye now, or rather Lapis Lazuli is still blue dye, but you have to craft it from lapis in a crafting table, in a crafting interface of some kind. And cornflowers basically mean that you can have blue dye as soon as you spawn into the game. If you haven't managed to go digging for lapis yet, or if you don't want to use the lapis for that, if you want to use it for enchanting, now you can just turn flowers into blue dye. And there are flower farm designs out there that actually allow you to basically farm a bunch of flowers. I mean, the clue is in the name, guys, right? But yeah, it is possible to harvest a bunch of blue dye that way without having to worry about wasting lapis on it anymore. I'm going to dig out a shulker box to put all of this stuff in. May as well throw that in there for the time being, because I'm sure we will come back to the flowers another time. There is another one called Lily of the Valley, which only generates, I believe, in forest biomes, so you won't find that here on the plains, but I'm sure we might have the opportunity to get that later on. The third one is called the Wither Rose, and you can only get it from if a wither kills a mob. If say, for example, we let loose a wither right here, right now, and it decided to kill this unfortunate pig, it would drop a Wither Rose along with the pig's ordinary drops. Also, because it's the Wither, it would probably fire another explosive skull at that pig and then destroy the Wither Rose itself. So it's potentially quite a volatile flower to get hold of. It has some interesting properties that the other flowers do not have, but we'll probably have to wait a little while and pluck up the courage to get Wither Roses later on. But I think I've done enough talking for the start of this episode. I'm just trying to find little ways of working in these extra details here and there, these small things that I'm not sure quite how we would come across them otherwise. But I think we're going to head out in the Nether to one of the villages that I have previously visited, and then we'll travel a little further afield from there and see if we can't find one of the new villages as well. And while we're here, I'm just going to cast a quick eye around at the Nether, because the texture changes in the Nether are some of my favourites. In particular, Netherrack no longer looks like a staticky mess. It actually feels a little bit more like, I mean, it's still gross looking, it still looks like, I don't know, organs and stuff. It still looks like weird fleshy kind of color, but it's not an absolute kind of mess to look at anymore. It feels a little bit more, I guess, soft in a way, and it's a lot nicer to look at. So while the Nether is still obviously meant to be a very unpleasant environment, I think Netherrack changing like this is a good change. Not only that, but some of the mobs even look a little bit different. Blazes have had a complete image overhaul. They're still annoying as all heck, throwing fireballs at me from a distance, but blazes themselves, the mobs themselves, actually look like they're being lit in a completely different way. And if I could actually fire some arrows at that one, there you go, we could take him out nice and easily. But there is an issue with blazes right now that they are able to spot you through transparent blocks and get aggressive towards you if you attack them. So my blaze farm is currently out of commission. We may need to do something about that in future. But for now, I'm going to take this portal, which, if memory serves, should lead me through to the village where we first discovered Mendelssohn, the mending villager, for the first time. And this has been preserved when I went through and deleted regions of the world. So you will see that this village is basically unchanged, including the hapless inhabitants. This guy here is completely unemployed. There are no new workstation blocks spawning in this village, and so there is basically no employment to be found here. Although for a while farmers did count farmland as an occupation block, but I think they are now tied to composters, so this guy is just going to be left disco dancing here by himself, unless maybe if we give him a barrel he can decide to become a fisherman. Yes, there we go, it worked! Fantastic. So now he is the disco fisherman, I suppose. He seems to be quite happy there, though, so maybe we'll just leave him to it for the moment. Looks like he's got a couple of trades, though. He's picked up his new occupation nice and quickly. Did I just eat some chicken? I think I just ate some chicken. Anyway, I think maybe we could start by trading him some coal for an emerald. Fantastic, and he's leveling up a little bit as well. You'll notice that they now have an XP bar, and you have to do a few trades with them before they will upgrade to the next profession and unlock some new trades. So yeah, we've just traded him a whole bunch of coal, but that's fine. I have coal to spare. Maybe a couple of his friends would appreciate some workstations as well. There we go. We will have a village of fishermen, which makes sense, actually, because they're right here on the water. I feel like that's sort of thematically for this area makes perfect sense. But enough of these guys. We're going to head a little bit further out and see if we can find a brand new village to take a look at. There it is. This, I think, is a village that's basically north of the one we found before. This is north of Mendelssohn's village, and this is is a region that I removed from the world because I wasn't using it. And here we have brand new village generation to look at. But before we look at any of that, I'm going to find a bed because most of these houses should now have beds in, and I need to sleep to make sure that we aren't going to lose any of these villagers overnight in some sort of terrible accident. This house here doesn't have a bed though, so who will have a bed? Who around here is probably going to have a bed? Uh-oh, looks like these beds are already occupied. Yes, villagers can sleep now, and they will claim beds as their own. This one here doesn't seem to have a bed anywhere. There we go, a spare bed in this one, not currently being used by a villager, so that's fine. I will step into this one and call it my own for the night, although I'll have to remain aware that it's going to set my spawn point here, but it shouldn't be a problem. So, village life, good morning. Let's see what the villagers are up to today, and a few of them are already milling around the village center. Now, there are different phases to village life, and each day is taken kind of differently by the villagers. Each day has a set routine, and the villagers themselves will need to go to work. Each villager has a set workstation that we've encountered before. We've mentioned this in a previous episode, and the librarians will go and find lecterns to work at during the day. Likewise, the farmers will go and find composters to work at. The fletchers will find fletching tables to work at. The blacksmiths will find smithing tables, and so forth. The whole idea is that the villagers' routines became a little bit more predictable in this update and a little bit easier for the player to manage. Not only that, but we have iron golems already spawning in the village perimeter. In fact, I think an iron golem now spawns with every new village, so you will find these guys as soon as you encounter a brand new village. A farmer is here. Hello, my friend. What do you have to trade? Beetroots and potatoes. Good stuff. So beetroots are now part of the trade tables for farmers, and in fact, you'll find that the professions have a lot more randomized trades than they used to if you're working with brand new villagers that you've never traded with before. Obviously, our villagers back at home by the farmhouse and everything, Mendelssohn the mending villager and his friends over in the trading hall, all have set trades because I've traded with them before. But once they've been traded with once or twice, you'll find that these guys have completely different sets of trades in a more random order. You're much more likely to find unique villagers in this update than you were previously, so I think that's quite a fun change. It's going to mean probably a lot of mass trading to find people who you think have desirable trades, but that's something that we can cope with. That's something that I think it will be a little bit of fun to have around. You'll notice there are a couple of unemployed villagers around here, so I don't know, maybe we'll pop down one of our favorite barrels and turn this guy into a fisherman, but right here, there are a few new features of villages, aside from the new decorated houses, which should all be different depending on the biome that you find villagers spawning in. So you'll find the plains villages look like this, with patches of mossy cobblestone and a little bit of terracotta in there. I'm pretty sure that is white terracotta. In Savannas, you'll find them being made out of acacia wood, which you found before, but they have a different house design entirely. They'll be up on stilts, because Savannas are kind of designed to be like, you know, floodplains every now and again. And imagine that they're all kind of a more hut-style design than these kind of cobblestone and wood village houses. The architecture of desert villages has also changed a great deal, and as I mentioned in a previous episode, there are snowy biome villages to find, which also have their own unique aesthetic. So it's really quite interesting to go out and explore villages now. You'll probably even find them generating in different places, and some of the houses even have chests, which didn't have before. You'll remember in previous villages you could only really find loot like this in a blacksmith's house. Now you will find them divided among the other villagers as well. You'll have bits and pieces of food in the chests, and if you get lucky and find a blacksmith's house or a few other houses, you might even find some different loot in those as well. Let's see what our friend the librarian has to trade right now. That's actually a really good paper trade, or at least I think it is, but I have no idea what a good paper trade is in this update, and it is also possible for them to change their prices if you trade with them enough and develop a favorable economy. The economy functions in a kind of similar way to how Reputation did before. Reputation didn't get you discounts before, which is something that's very cool about the new system, but much like the old system, if you attack a villager, your reputation with them goes down and you are much more likely to see an increase in prices. Basically, they're going to demand more emeralds from you if you seem like a hostile kind of guy. They are going to fleece you a little bit on the prices, which is fair enough, but I don't exactly plan to go around attacking villagers all day, so I think we'll be in the clear for the most part. Here is another fun thing about villages, which I'm pretty sure we should be able to see the effects of. If we ring this bell here by right-clicking on it, like so, the villagers immediately run towards their homes, which in the case of this farmer means running through this ravine. The bells are actually capable of driving villagers indoors, and they are used in the event of a raid. And raids will not happen to you whilst you're just standing around here, unless there is a pillager patrol nearby. Pillager patrols don't normally spawn within 200 blocks of a village though, so we don't need to worry about one of them coming up on us right here, right now. But in the event that you start a raid, which is something we will cover in depth in a future episode of this, I don't think we're going to get into it today, but the villagers will automatically ring the bell and run inside. And at that point, ringing the bell will also highlight any mobs that are a part of the raid and will be attacking the village with the glowing effect that you get from spectral arrows. So that's actually a really neat way of seeing what you have to take down when a raid starts. But once again, we will get into those mechanics later. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, don't worry, answers will be coming in future. It's a nice little backyard pool this guy has. Whoever lives in this house clearly got some luxury going on. But as far as the different designs of house go, oh, there's a couple of emeralds in here and a book, so that could potentially be worth trading with a librarian if we had any librarians with developed trades in this village. But no, I think this village is, relatively speaking, quite tame. There isn't anything hugely important going on here. There are still nitwits running around, and nitwits, by the way, are one of the only villagers that cannot change their profession. They are basically the permanently unemployed guys, and they're not going to be able to trade with you at all. So best to leave them alone, much in the same way as we did before. But who knows what else could be out there? Let's scour the horizon and see if we can find another village, or maybe even an outpost with some pillagers. Oh, but before we leave, I just noticed a couple of cats playing around that villager in the grass over here, and that's something new to 1.14 as well. Cats are now their own separate mob. I believe that it is still possible to tame ocelots to get cats, but if you want to run into a village, you might occasionally encounter a couple of different cats. And there are a bunch of different cat designs new to the game in this update, so you will find yourself encountering a bunch of different like markings of cat, a bunch of different styles of cat. Some of them even have like flat-nosed faces, kind of like Persian cats do. So you'll actually find a whole variety of cats spawning in and around villages, and they tame in much the same way ocelots did before. You've got to approach them with some fish that you can feed them, and then they'll become your friends and they'll follow you around and so forth. There is actually even now an advancement, I believe, in husbandry, there we go, to tame all the variants of cat. And that doesn't include the ocelots that I've already tamed, apparently. So, looks like we've got some work to do in a future episode becoming a cat person. I'm already a cat person anyway, so that doesn't matter too much. But I think we'll probably need to spend a lot of time around the different villages if we want to get all of them. Much as I would love to put this entire episode on pause and do an entire episode about cats right here and right now, though, the desert before us beckons, and I'm going to see if I can find us a desert village before we wrap up this episode. In fact, there's actually one right here on the border of this birch forest, and as you can already see, the villages here are looking more than a little different. There are brand new desert houses made out of sandstone and terracotta, and here we get our first look at the variants of village costumes, because previously we have only really seen the plains villages. Oh, there's another type of cat. Desert has them too. Fantastic. Oh, you're asleep. I'm sorry. I'll come back later. Let's see if we can find another bed to sleep the night and set our spawn point even further away than it was before. Nope, that one's occupied as well. Gosh, are all of these houses full of people? I'm going to sleep in your bed before you get the chance. Haha, I stole it out from under you. My new roommate. Morning, roomie. Sorry about that. Looks like you don't have any kind of occupation, though. Interesting. I'm not really used to what all of the different village costumes are, but you will find some similarities in the way that they dress. Even though the robes and stuff are the same, they've still got the little pouches, the little belts that indicate what level of trades they are at. And this hat makes me assume that this guy is already a fisherman. Nope, you're a shepherd. Okay, well, your hat was close enough, okay? Don't look at me like that. Looks like we're having a meeting first thing in the morning. Oh, and I think that guy is going to be, yeah, he's a weaponsmith. Look at that. Brilliant stuff. So you'll notice that a few of the, You're right, guys? Do you want to trade for something? I've got my emeralds on me. Ah, there you go. Now you can see that behavior where if you hold up something that they want to trade, then they will hold up something that they want to trade. The shepherd is trying to sell me some shears. Look at that. Brilliant stuff. But as I was saying, you will notice some of the occupations have similar characteristics. Like the weaponsmith will always have an eye patch and an apron like this, and I guess those are kind of gloves for working in the forge, that kind of stuff. The fishermen and shepherds will always have the same hats. You'll find that farmers usually have similar kind of sun hats as well. There will be a few notable things about each of the villages that will carry over from design to design when it comes to the different biomes. And this one is a sheep, it turns out, and it looks like maybe they've encountered a wolf coming in from this biome over here, because one of the sheep is already dead. Maybe he suffocated in one of the hay blocks, actually, thinking about it. Now, these houses have like the village workstations in, so that's probably why the shepherd is there and why the sheep are in there. But this guy, look at that, see, he's a farmer from the desert village and he's got his farming hat on as well. So this guy is actually trading us more or less the same thing that other trader had with potatoes and beets, but you'll probably find a greater variety of stuff and that the trades will vary the further down the list we go. The blacksmith is here and he's gone to work at the grindstone, of course, because he's a weaponsmith. Now, during the day, like I said, they will go to their workstations, so it means this guy wants to hang out around here. But that doesn't mean he is completely without social obligations, and some of the other unemployed villagers will probably pop by from time to time just to socialize, because these guys gossip now, and you will find that a lot of the time in the latter part of the day they will be gathered around village meeting places, spots like this where the bell hangs out, for example, and they will just kind of congregate and mill around, and that is when they have a chance to spawn iron golems. So that is what the new iron golem farming mechanic actually does, and we will probably look into that in future episodes, but shh, don't tell him. He's keeping an eye on us just in case we try any funny business. But don't worry, my friend, we're not going to be farming you just yet. Instead, I'm going to see what this guy has in his chest. See, there's some iron ingots in there and some bread. There's some stuff that we can take from them if we want to, and the villagers aren't going to mind about that. But the blacksmith's house has had a complete overhaul. It's still got the furnaces in here. It's got a grindstone instead of the slabs out the front for an anvil. It's still got the incredibly dangerous 2 blocks of lava, but the house itself looks completely different. And I have to say, I quite like the village house redesigns. There's this kind of adobe feel to the ones in the desert, with all of the wall studs for where all of the wooden beams inside would be and that kind of thing. And it really gives them a little bit more character than the houses that we're used to seeing and have been used to seeing for so long. This guy's got some cactus in the chest and a lime green bed as well. Very, very cool. And I'm sure we will encounter other designs of village as we look further and further out into the world. I am especially interested in going out and finding a snowy village, but I really don't feel like traveling particularly far with the chunk loading still kind of a little bit glitchy. So I think that is probably where we're going to call it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the other villages that are out there and the villager professions, and we're getting our first glimpses at how we can start to turn some of this stuff to our advantage by placing down the workstation blocks and giving the unemployed villagers who don't have an occupation right now some sort of vocation to be getting on with. But until then, that's going to be it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this episode if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.